Welcome to This Week in Pulling, the show that brings you all the action from the world of tractor and truck pulling. I'm Dan Mayer, joined by Jeremy and Miles Krieger, and each week we'll dive into the latest highlights, breaking news, and behind-the-scenes stories from the sport we all love. From upcoming events, standout performances, and the rich history that shaped pulling into what it is today, we've got you covered. So buckle up, This Week in Pulling starts now.
Welcome back, everybody. Episode number 20 This Week in Pulling. Guys, it's been busy. I know you guys have been busy. I've been busy. It's we're full bore into pulling season.
Full swing, absolutely. And I'm sort of on a downhill slide for a while. I guess I have a little bit of a break in August, unless I pick up some here. But yeah, July was really busy, and I was on the road every weekend in July. But this past weekend was busy for all three of us, but some of us better than others, and some of us were dry, and some of us were not.
Yeah, Mother Nature has not been good this year. This has been not the best year for weather, but I guess it is what it is, and just kind of soldier on. But folks that made it out to Fort Recovery, that was I seen some scuttlebutt about Friday night show, but there was no way that they were going to get any pulling in there. It was just so saturated, and you got to think about all the people coming in, and are you going to get a crowd kind of thing, but they were already saturated, and the grounds got pretty beat up there. Watching some of the guys leaving and everything. It's how that place is kind of built on a culvert. It's next to the creek there, or the river, I guess you could say, but. Yeah, it just definitely, it was after that rain on Saturday, boy, it was pretty soaked again. So don't like to see it, but hopefully, better things ahead here for the Fort. But yeah, that's unfortunately lost their two big nights of the year there, Friday and Saturday. And, we'll see what, hopefully Mother Nature gives them a break for next year. But how about you guys? Got some shows in?
Yeah, I was at the Meade County Fair in Brandenburg. Of course, the Grand National, that's, the last weekend in July, generally every year. And it was, it was fun. It was hot as usual, and the nights were late as usual. It was fun. It was a good evening. The pulling was good. We didn't have, a lot of breakage or attrition to speak of. I think Marvin and his team did a great job of, sort of using the telehandler again and making sure that the tractor classes were fast. We were averaging, less than 3 minutes a hook for the tractor classes. Of course, we rounded out the evening with the four-wheel drives, and there were 24 of them. And, that can be a challenge. But both nights were good. I feel like we had a great pull, and the competition was pretty good. And I enjoyed it quite a bit. And we could get, into that a little bit more later on. But I got to ask Miles, talk a little bit about Friday night and your kind of, first taste of live streaming in your home and doing some remote work for the Pro Pulling League Brandenburg County event.
Yeah. So remote just seems to be my middle name right now, as I sit in the middle of the parking lot at the Indiana State Fairgrounds, in the line to unload tack for the weather weekend of the sheep show here at the Indiana State Fair. I've been here sitting in this very parking lot for 10 hours, and I've got another hour and so to go before I can move in, and about an hour and a half or 2 hours of unloading before I get to go home. So lots of fun and exciting times there. But so I guess Friday night was a first for me. I got to be a part of the live stream for propulling.tv. An event that obviously I've had a lot of time to be able to watch and enjoy over the years with Evansville and Vanderburgh County, and having gone to school in Evansville, and loving USI and my experience there, and coaching there as well, and Allie and I living there. That's an event that kind of means a lot to me. So the chance that I got to have to do some live stream coverage for that was pretty awesome. Invited Austin Boyd to come be a part of it with me, and so he was my expert analyst and provided some great feedback because he has actually driven a pro stock tractor and a modified and a mini. So 3 of the 6 classes there that were in competition, he's been able to drive, and he provided some awesome insight and discussion kind of about how it would be like. And also what to expect there at that track. And so it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed myself very, very much, and had a lot of fun just kind of getting back into the groove and getting into the grind of things with the event. So obviously some of the technicians I got to work with and learn a little bit more about how the stream works and how to communicate internally during the show. And so those were all new aspects for me from the pulling game. I've done that in cross country meets and live stream track meets before, but I've never done anything like that before in a cross country meet. So, or a tractor pull. So I enjoyed that a lot, and awesome competition for sure. Think about Rob Russell winning that pro stock class, and Tanner Nelson going 2 for 2 on the weekend with his event from Goshen and then Evansville, and kind of becoming a next generation type winner. We'll talk about that hopefully a little bit later too. And then obviously on the 2-wheel drive side, Bethany Nelson was a winner again, and just very, very competitive super farm class as well that Michael Snepp won. And it was just great competition all the way across the game. So certainly enjoyed that. And I'm off now until Bowling Green, because the next 2 weekends here are going to be solely focused on my oldest daughter and getting these sheep as ready as we can for the Indiana State Fair, and back to school next Wednesday. And we've got a little boy who becomes a kindergartner. So all Krieger kids will be in school. And so all of that's kind of staring down the barrel here. This next 10 days are going to be kind of crazy.
Absolutely. But I know once they're through, you'll sort of be able to get your breath and calm down a little bit and kind of get ready for, get through Bowling Green. And then you kind of coast till the Nally, right? Like you'll have a little bit of a break, and then you'll start getting ready for the fall sheep stuff.
Yeah. So after Bowling Green, I get to do Shide. And that'll be kind of my final event for the year. And obviously being 15 minutes from home, that's kind of one I always want to kind of get to be a part of. And with my relationship with Jeremy Wagler and the awesome folks at Wagler Competition, I've come to love that facility. And then obviously Dan Scheid and his family, I really love those folks and all they've done over the years. So when I get a chance to be there and be a part of that event, I want to. So that's kind of a great way for me to kind of settle for the year. And then we'll do some fall showing and get ready for babies and the whole shooting match at our house. So it's fun.
Amen.
Good deal. Lots going on. And of course, Indiana State Fair, they still have a pull up there with the Hoosier State Pullers. I know Larry told me. Okay.
Yes, sir. And it's always on a Sunday afternoon. I want to say it might be this first Sunday. It might be coming up here Sunday. I'm not real sure, but I just know that last year, Lockie and I were standing in the middle of the barn, and we were super lucky that my daughter Landry made it to the Coliseum both weekends last year, which left us up here on Sunday night. But I'm pretty sure that sometime in that time frame, we heard the noise, and he and I dashed over to watch. And they didn't have tremendous turnout. I think they had 6 4-wheel drive trucks and maybe eight or so hot farm tractors, and they didn't have maybe they ran the light limited supers as well. They didn't have a great number draw by any means, but certainly enough for he and I to get a little taste and enjoy ourselves.
Yeah. Now you said the Coliseum, is that where like the judging part of it and everything goes? Like the old where they used to have the Indy Super Bowl? Is that the Pepsi Coliseum still? They use that, or?
So the Coliseum here, yeah, it's right here at the state fairgrounds. And so I guess the way that I should tell you this is they actually will work the horse show through there all weekend. And so it's a big deal with the Percherons. They come and are a part of it. But then on Sunday, they do not have the horse shows happening inside the arena or the Coliseum. That is reserved for the grand drive of the sheep, the cattle, the swine, and the goat show. And so that is every kid's goal here, rolling into Indiana State Fair, is to make it to the Coliseum, and as for most people say, to get to the dirt. They want to get to the dirt. So they have a beautiful pavilion here where we actually show, and it's a great facility for the sheep show. They just built a brand new facility here for the swine barn, and that swine barn doubles in the wintertime as a national venue for track and field. It hosted the Division II track and field championships and the Big Ten championships this year for indoors. So it's in a brand new, absolutely immaculate facility. Yes, I came up here with Landry to the Division II National Championships and watched Natalie, one of my former athletes, finish second in the 3K.
So
Right here in the middle of the swine barn.
They just lay a portable track there and
take all the pins down, all the pins go out, and it's a bare concrete floor. Sweep and clean and squeegee and do all that you can, and then they actually construct the absolute most fast, beautiful Mondo rubber facility that you can imagine with a hydraulic bank, and that thing banks up. And it is a fast facility. Some of the fastest times in the country this year were ran right there at the Big Ten meet. And it's a beautiful facility where all of the fans actually sit up above the track in many capacities and can sit down and watch. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds pretty neat. Yeah,
they race cars in there?
They have not, but this is the third year. I believe this will be the third year coming that they host track meets there. This will be the third winter.
Good deal. Fantastic.
Yep.
Well,
I did a couple years ago. We went to a car show up there at the fairgrounds, and that's where I ran into Doc Riley. Doc was doing
the World of Wheels.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. World of Wheels, and and I tried to get back to see the old Pepsi Coliseum, but they had it all roped off, and you really couldn't. I was kind of curious to see what it was. I think they still play hockey in there, don't they, during the winter?
Yeah, and prior to Caitlin Clark, I think the Fever were playing some games maybe over here in the early years of the Indiana Fever. Even it's a neat facility. I'm not gonna tell you by any means that it's not dated a little bit. It probably needs to have some upgrades over time, but in terms of one of the unique facilities for a championship drive for the sheep show and for pig and cattle and goat, it's pretty fantastic. So to have your armband and be down there on the ground that day is quite an honor.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I started Hell Week with Goshen, Indiana. That was last Wednesday night, the first of 3 sessions there, and some good pulling. We saw, Brandon Simon again pick up a big win there on Wednesday night. And let's see here. Who else was we saw Superstock Diesel Trucks, Chase Eller. Good run. He picked up the win there on Wednesday night. And then we had
Super Open ran twice there.
Yep. What's that?
Superstock Open or
Superstock Open. Yep. They ran on Wednesday night as well. And Scott Whitworth, another big win there on Wednesday night, but he broke it. Had a believe dropped a valve or something to that nature so he basically just bumped the sled there on Thursdays for points, but it looks pretty good for him for a championship. He's kind of riding it out here and he looking pretty good, but it's been but boy, that tractor, everybody kind of had a little issue trying to get a hold of that track, and he went out there and boy, that thing just lit him up and away he went. So it was a pretty impressive run there for him with that tractor. And then we went into Thursday afternoon session in Goshen. More or less the, early hooks were the place to be. Jeff Hodem picked up his first win of the year with the fully loaded. Good to see him in the winner's circle. He was kind of down and out from the night before. Is kind of down on his driving there a little bit. And then Modified Tractors was Brett Berg was able to get in the winner's circle there. But a really, really good class of diesel super stock trucks really put on a good show. They kind of let them run out to the end there, about 350 into the dry dirt a little bit. And Terry Biggs was able to hold off the Cummins killer who showed up there for the afternoon. And Trip Hazley, early hook in the class, he led for a while. And, yeah, it was just a really top to bottom, a really good class. The Lees had both their trucks and were able to get them up and going there. And they're going to be quite the team here in a little bit. They were talking, and Cody was saying he's got another truck being built, so they're already stepping up their game with those trucks. And trying to think what else happened there during the Spencer Rook, the young man out of Ohio, swept the weekend there with the 2 days with his Hillbilly Deluxe and picked up that championship. So that was pretty neat to see the young man do that. They've been running hard there the last couple of years. And then you got to mention the Thumpin' Pumpkin, Shane Maston, points leader in the Super Farm class there. And and got the job done there with the big win on that would have been Thursday afternoon. And then Thursday night went into the night session there, and Mother Nature kind of came whipping through there pretty quick. And we were running the mini rods at that time, and they postponed the minis until later in that night. And the Young Guns really put on a good show. I don't know if you guys saw that, but we had Tanner Nelson and Logan Stevens both lay down some really, really good runs there. And Logan led for a bit, and then Tanner come down through there and took it away from him. But yeah, that was a good class of minis. And then we talk about the 2-wheel drives, and Jonathan Payne, the basically my neighbor here over the hill, and he both of his trucks were there, and he was sitting 1 and 2 there for pretty much the last half of the class, and then the veteran there, Dale Nelson, got him there at the end. But a really good run for Dale. Good to see him in the winner's circle again. Lightweight super stocks was Dale Hogg. They just continue to stretch out that points lead there with the Pro Pulling League. And then 10,000-pound pro stocks was Joey Harris again behind the wheel of the Tinker Toy, holding off Conley Medding. Good run for Conley. And then Russ Yoder made his first run of the season, so he rounded out the top 3 there in the pro stock class, and was a very entertaining pro stock class up there. But it was Goshen was a always lives up to its always a great event up there, and great competition. You just never know who's going to show up, so that's kind of the neat thing about Goshen. And then from there went to Fort Recovery, and there the bottom just kind of fell out. It just it rained pretty much Friday morning when I got up, all the way over into Fort Recovery, and it just kind of on and off all afternoon long. And then they finally at 4:00 made the decision to call it. So that was really kind of a disappointment. So the whole Ambassador Park had Brandenburg, Kentucky on, and we were all listening to Jeremy that whole night. And
I'm sorry.
And did a great job. And so we were listening to Brandenburg, and unfortunately no pulling that night, but we were able to get Friday night they had a meeting about 8:00 with all the 2-wheeler drive competitors, and they had said, hey, how about we run your class on Saturday afternoon so you guys get a session. And good thing they decided to do that, because of course Saturday night rained out, but they were able to get Saturday afternoon in. And boy, the Nichols, really impressive. Kelly Nichols got her first Grand National win, and that was good to see. And we saw Russ finish up in that number 2 spot there. And so that was 2-wheelers kicked off their season. They'll continue hopefully this weekend. We'll see if we'll be able to get a couple sessions in here. And then, of course, the semis ran on Saturday afternoon too. RJ Simon got his first win of the year in the super semi class. And then they ran a couple of the regional classes there during the afternoon, and really entertaining modified class. They ran the modified Region 2 class, and Todd Feiss had a great run there and picked up that win. And we saw one of the Bargee tractors in between Todd and Terry there. But that was pretty entertaining. But then the rain came back in there, and after that show, and they got the track back together and started the show, and things were going pretty good. Track was starting to come around, and then another big shower came in and kind of wiped them out there for the evening. So that was it for Fort Recovery. So unfortunately, hats off to the Ambassador Club and everybody there for doing their best. I mean, they had plenty of equipment working there trying to get everything in, but just wasn't going to be. So it's, as the summer seems to be going here, Mother Nature just keeps interfering with everybody. So that's the report there from Fort Recovery. So on to Rockwell, Iowa here for a couple days of Grand National pulling, and we'll see how the weather goes out there.
Sure.
It looked like Colin had a monster pass.
Oh, he did. And we were 2 from the end from that class, and he had just taken the lead from Terry Blackburn. Terry was running the V8 there, and hadn't run the 6-cylinder yet. That was still left in the wings there. So that would have been interesting to see how that would have played out there, because Colin had planned on running both classes again, and the way that the diesel supers were at the end of the show. So, but just started the super stock diesel trucks on the hillside, and we're, like I say, 2 or 3 from the end over on the open side, and then it just opened up, and that was it. You could see the lightning coming, and it just came, and that was it. No chance of getting the rest of the show in. So
Sure.
the battle
I made
will
it about
continue.
20 miles from home on the way to Altamont, and Jared called and said, "Go home, brother." So unfortunately, the Effingham County Fair did not get their event in. It was canceled.
And that's where you were heading Saturday night?
I was heading to Altamont Saturday night to pull with the Pro Pulling Champions Tour.
Yeah, I was talking to Brad Corporal there a little bit in the afternoon, and he had said Brett Berg had called, and he was getting to that point where he had to turn to go to Altamont or turn to go back north to Minnesota, and it just happened that it rained out just at that time, so he was able to head on up to Minnesota there before heading on back. But yeah, it's been a bad summer here. I don't know. We gotta maybe August. Hopefully August will be a lot better. But what are you gonna do? But Jeremy, Saturday afternoon, big things. Greenville, Indiana.
Yeah, it was a really, really neat deal, guys. Of course, we've talked a little bit about how, about what happened and what we were doing. But like, for those of you who are new and haven't heard in previous broadcasts, about 10 years ago, I approached the Greenville, Indiana Historic Preservation Committee about raising funds to try to dedicate a historical marker at the site, or as close to the site as we could, of the original Thunder Valley pulling track in Greenville Park, up on Buttontown Road. And they were immediately interested. They thought it was a great idea. Some of them had no idea how important it was. But we, did some research, did some history, and over the time that we, took, they were all in. So they had to engage the county parks department, and then we had to start getting permission from the parks department to put up the marker in the park because they own the park, and they were immediately on board. And then from there, we just had to raise about $9,000. And thankfully, with private donorship and then very generous donations from John Jones and his fleet of Chevrolet dealerships, and of course Danny Christiani and several others, we were able to order the sign. And then on this past Saturday, we dedicated it there in Greenville Park. I don't know if I can make this work. I'll try my best to just show you on my phone, but there is a picture of the sign, and I'm very proud of it. I know, Dan, you went to see it today. I can't wait for Miles to get in on his next trip up this way to see it. It's beautiful. It's breathtaking. It makes me very happy to know that we live in a community that understands the historic nature of that ground for pulling, and they for many generations to come and forever now, that area will be well documented, and the people that came before us will be remembered. And I think that's huge. So I'm very, very happy to have been a part of that. And about 40 people showed up. As I understand it, there will be a write-up in the New Albany Tribune coming. I don't know when that will happen, but as I understand it, there'll be a little blurb on it. Also, there's a guy named Matt Dennison, who is the superintendent of all the New Albany Floyd County parks, and he has a podcast that he has invited me to come on and discuss Thunder Valley and a little bit about pulling. So at some point we'll do that, and we'll keep you posted on when that happens. But there were local dignitaries and older folks who were there. It was neat. It was a really neat deal, and I spoke some words, and some of the historic committee members also spoke, and it was good. It was a really good afternoon. And if you are in and around Greenville, Indiana, and you want to go see the sign, you want to head off of 64 westbound and get off at the 119 there at the Greenville Paoli exit and run it all the way to Greenville. And then just before you hit town, you'll be looking for Buttontown Road on your left, and run left on Buttontown Road, and you can't miss the park. It comes in on your right. So take the second entrance into the park and park there, and then walk along the walking track along the ball diamonds, and you'll see it down in the corner. And it's very hard to miss. It's shining and gilded and glowing in the sun, and it's absolutely breathtaking. It's spectacular. So I know we're just talking about a sign, but to me, it's way more than just a sign. So thanks to all who had a hand in it, and I hope everyone will go see it, and pullers who used to pull there will go see it. And if you are watching this and you do go see it, take a photo with it, and send it to me, send it to us. Would love to compile some pictures of people with the Greenville historic marker. I think it would be really neat.
And great location for it. You're looking at the sign and you're overlooking, kind of imagining where, because I had never been there. So
right.
You're kind of imagining wherever you had showed me where, everything kind of happened, but it's all overgrown now and with the trees and everything. So it's really hard to tell, but down in that valley there. And
if you're standing to the front of it, it's in front of you. If you're on the reverse side, it's over your shoulder. But like I said,
I would say, Jeremy and Dan, you both can confirm with me, or we can kind of play some games on that idea. But there are only a couple of venues across the country that I have ever been to that would emulate what Thunder Valley was in terms of its low-lying position, and why it was called Thunder Valley was because of the sort of echo and the reverb that you would hear coming off of that valley as well. So, it sits down at the very bottom of this hill, where if you were to have a rain like we've had this last few weeks, there'd have been a creek at the bottom of that hill where the tractor pulling track was, or truck pulling track was. But the way that valley was cut straight up from Buttontown Road all the way down to the bottom of the hill, you'd get quite the echo and quite the pull just never stopped.
And that's
once
what I told you.
Started, you just keep hearing it.
6 seconds, easily 5 or 6 seconds after they burned it in and backed out, it would echo across that valley, through the trees up into the park, and it was spectacular. It was breathtaking.
The only place that I can think would like I could replicate this might be Lincolnton, North Carolina. When we went to Lincolnton years ago with Pro Pulling League, it's down. Their facility was down at the bottom of the hill.
Well, and Dan and I talked a little bit about Glencoe, Kentucky. Gallatin County is kind of like that, and you get a little bit of an echo, but it was double in Greenville. And Dan, you can picture being at my parents' house because you know where that is in relation.
Right.
You could hear them plain as day from that far away, like without question. Like when they took off, like because Mom would usually dress us in pajamas or dress us, not to be there late, and we would go after the pull started, and we would stay an hour or two, and then she'd get us home to bed, and we weren't there late. But the pulls would be going on before we headed up there, and you could hear them from Parkland Heights very, 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 very easily, without question.
Wow. Yeah, that is just a neat deal. That is.
And it was, I wish that I hope somewhere somebody has some VHS recordings.
There's got to be something.
Bound to be somebody who has video from there. I would love to have it. I would pay for it. Like, it would be grand for other people to see what that whole layout looked like, with not only the pulling track, but the pit area. And then, up above the hillside, separate from the pull, you had an entire, like, you had fish fry, and you had a beer garden, and you had, games of wheels and chance games, and booths selling stuff like candy and sodas and concessions and all that sort of things. And that all kind of went on top of the hill as the pull was going on below. And like I say, I wish that we could find a historical record on video. I'm sure somebody's got
to have something. Yeah,
I've just got to find it and let everyone preserve it for everybody to see. Get it on a disc, or get it on digital copy so that people can see it. But it was an unbelievable place, and I think it warrants the. We're very fortunate in the Greenville area to have a historic committee and a commission that believes in the history of that little town. And they didn't use any state funding. Like, it's not a state funded thing. It was privately funded. And the good news is they are already so successful with t-shirt sales and all the other things that they've done to raise funds that they are already halfway to number 6. This was number 5 historic marker in town, and they are now almost already half of raised for the next one, whatever that one may be. So
Wow.
whoever decides,
really cool.
the next one won't have to wait 10 years like we did, because they're already better than halfway home. So that's pretty good. And I'm really appreciative and happy that we were able to make that happen. And I hope that most people who remember pulling and people who are pulling fans will at least go to the park, experience it, and try to put themselves in that spot. Because I feel like, to your point earlier, if you sit on that bench and you close your eyes and you imagine it hard enough, you'll hear the motors thundering through that valley, and you'll smell the smells and experience the sights in your mind. And I think it'll be really neat.
And hear your dad in the echoes. And
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
That's cool.
That's the old Iron Horse and Ritter's Critter, and the Hamiltons, and several others who were very early. Buddy Jean pulled there quite a bit, throughout the 80s and into the 90s. So I think
what's the post that Greenville had, Jeremy? They had several older photos.
Yeah.
Yep. You're kind of
there are a bunch of photos, and Dan has some photos as well, so that he somehow got a hold of from there.
Yeah. I ended up in Jeremy said, yeah, that's exactly what that was. And
I don't like, at some point you're gonna have to show Miles, Dan. I don't think we've never shown him, but Miles, Dan has a photograph from inside the phone booth there, the announcing stand, and it is clearly Dad's announcing stand, because his old STP slot car box, that he used previous to his briefcases, is in this photograph. I'll have to see, we'll have to show you a picture.
Yeah,
of it.
I have to find that for you, because Jeremy picked it right out.
Yeah, he was showing it to me, and I was like, oh my gosh, go back, that one right there.
You've never seen a phone booth utilized anywhere else, so it would be very easy to find, kind of sitting up on a truck like that. So
yeah, they put a phone booth basically on a little stage, and I think eventually they just they stuck it in the ground and put a ladder up to it. But I think the first time it was on a trailer or on some sort of a flatbed that he announced from. But yeah, there's a photograph that Dan has of that of the inside looking out onto the pulling track that is really, really cool. And I told the folks at Greenville about that. And maybe while he's looking for that, I'm going to talk a little bit about Meade County, since we really haven't talked much about Brandenburg. I think it was a good weekend. I feel like, we had some sort of repeat offenders. Like we kind of did some musical tractors. So like in the light super class, you had Wilson, and you had Bowles, and you had Whitworth. And on Friday night, it went, I think, 1, 2, 3 that way. And then on Saturday night, it went Bowles, Whitworth, Weddleson. So they were, all on their A games. And of course, all 3 of those guys, especially Weddleson and Whitworth, I know they love Brandenburg very much. And Marcus was very happy to be in the winner's circle. Up in the super farm ranks, we had to get the broom out for the Ferrises. Brooks swept the weekend with the assorted nuts machine, was there both nights. We have to give a shout out to the Hunts. It was pretty neat to see Shane in the winner's circle, or on the podium Friday night with Chasing a Dream machine. He was in there in number 2. And Shavink was in there, I think, Friday night. And then Saturday night it was Ferris, and it was Stan Warda and Hammer and Hank, and who am I forgetting? Let me hit my notes real quick here.
That was their first hook of the year, wasn't it?
Yes.
They got their season finally underway.
Yeah, the Super Farm started there, and then Dan Schulte got in for the Binder Express out of Iowa. He came in second.
Like 3rd year in a row or something, he said, right?
Yeah, he's been kind of scratching every year out there. He's done very well. But then on let's see, Friday night, who else did we have? We had so Shane Hunt second, and Shavink was third, and then Tim Kane and the Red Gambler gets the win in pro stocks by a nice he held on to win. And James Ray and the Mac Daddy came real close to him. They were both 320, and I think Tim Kaine was 320.42, and James was 320.40 or something crazy like that. And of course, Brent Meyer was there, Loud and Heavy X, for the third spot. The four-wheel drives was Jake Zering and the Holmans and John R. Davis in the seldom seen on Friday night. And then Saturday night, we kind of had, musical pullers again. So lights was Brian Bowles, Colton Whitworth, and Weddleson. Ferris, Schulte, and Order on Saturday night. And then, the Simon and Meyer faction came with it Saturday night. Brent goes 1, Brandon goes 2, Injected Funds, Loud and Heavy X, and Kevin Schmucker and the Get Her Done Deer was 3rd. And then I think, there was another Meyer tractor. So they had 3 in the top 4.
Because Brandon showed up, right?
Brandon showed up and pulled
Okay.
2 of the 3. Sam Brown was top 6, and I know he had a good points weekend. And then the four-wheelers on Saturday night, John R. Davis gets the win. So he has a 3rd and a 1st. And then the Holmans got a 2nd and tied. There was a tie to the 1,000th for 2nd place, and Mick Broughton was the other one. So we had a solid weekend. And I've told you, and I told Miles, I am, storylines from the weekend for me. I am, making sleeper predictions and just kind of watching and observing. But
well, I was going to ask you guys, what are you, we're basically, mid-season, I would have to say.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we looking for? Let's start with let's start with NTPA here with the Grand National classes, and let's pick that up.
Well, and I just, I just wanted to, from my perspective, I'm watching Taylor Corsa. I'm looking at the TaylorMade, and I think the young lady out of Georgia is in a good spot. She's number 4 Friday night. She's number 5 Friday night. She's number 4 Saturday night. So 2 top 5s, and she was in the top 5 in points coming into the event. So I mean that can only help. Of course, John Davis had a whale of a weekend, and so did the Holmans. And Mick Broughton, I think, went from 30 some, or from the bottom to top 15 now with his 2nd place finish. But I really am kind of, if Taylor Corsa stays the course, no pun intended, through Rockwell, the young lady's going to be sitting in a good spot for sure.
Well, let's not forget she had that win in Farley.
Absolutely,
even though it was a non-point,
right?
It doesn't count. But still, yeah, that was very impressive there, and she's kind of carrying that on. And I'm looking at the light super stock class there. Brian Bowles this year, following points, and then watching Marcus Weddleson, who had such terrible luck there at Toma,
Sure.
come back out here and run really good in Brandenburg. That was good for him. But yeah, I think that's gonna light super stock class is gonna be pretty exciting here with Brian Bowles in the mix there and deciding to run for points. And I think that's going to be, something to watch here, and watch that blue tractor.
And you guys talked about it at Toma. When he shows up, it
don't matter.
It's Katie bar the door.
Yep.
You better be ready. And he was on, he was on rails. I mean, that tractor was dialed in and ready to go. I think he, had his initial setup Friday night, but Saturday he just threw something at it, and it stuck, and it was an amazing event, and a great night for a great weekend for the Bowles family. But and then you look at of course, I guess we talk about John Davis too, John R. Davis. He's 3rd and 1st, so if he's trending and staying that way through Rockwell, depending upon if he heads out, that's kind of a haul from Tappahannock, Virginia. But I guess you would think if he's chasing the points, he'll head that way with the seldom seen machine. So in the pro stocks, I feel like the Simons and the Myers are in contention now, and then not that they weren't before, but I feel like if they continue to stay as consistent as they were this weekend in Brandenburg, you're going to start to see a breakaway in the pro stock class.
Well, and then Denny Brown and his boys.
Yeah,
I think that's got to be one of the bigger stories with the pro stock class.
Absolutely.
With them
and
guys.
Both of them, both Sam and Elijah drove this weekend. They got, and I'm thinking, Dad, maybe you just build another tractor.
Well,
don't give up your seat.
Yeah, and we saw the Lemke tractor kind of slip a little bit there, had some breakage and kind of lost out a little bit in the points there, but they're going to be right there in the mix here once the season comes to a head here, and you just it's the young blood back getting back to where it needs to be. Lost quite a few points there with that damage up in Toma, but that's another team that I think is right there in the mix with pro stock class. Going to be exciting, to see how this will all finish out here. I mean, unless Brett Meyer keeps the foot on that pedal like it is, and he's had that going for him here the last couple of years. It's really been just goes to show you the team that the reliability they have there at all the events, and that's what it takes.
Absolutely, and they were all very complimentary of one another. Brandon spoke highly of of course, Brent Meyer, and Brent the same, and Brad Walkup and that whole crew out there. And I think Mike Mullins is helping them now as well a little bit. He was there, so it's good to see him. But I mean, they've got a great thing going, but for me, for the feel good story of the weekend though is Tim Kaine Friday night. Like that. I just loved it. It was awesome. It's great to see him in the, just happy as he could be in the winner's circle. And it's always good when you can interview somebody that's, that happy and happy to win.
Yeah. And, and that's pretty cool because he keeps just nipping away there at Larry Shope. Every win he gets closer and closer to that all-time wins there in pro stock. So that's pretty neat there. He's got just a couple to go to catch Larry, but yeah, that's a pretty neat story. Light mods will be in action this weekend. They've been off since Door, Michigan, so they'll be ready to get going. Modifieds, they'll be up in as well with Brandon Simon and that whole group there with the modified class. Now, Unlimiteds will be back in action this weekend with hopefully be able to get a couple of sessions in for them, because that's turning into a really interesting story too. Is the unlimited class with all the different winners this year, and and everybody. It's just a matter of Mother Nature giving us a break to get them in, but I think that's going to be that'll be interesting to see how that will all finish out as well.
Many divisions. The one I'd circle too. You think about Lindsey Campbell being right there, tied with Adam, and kind of what that means and what's coming here in the coming weeks. We've had some rain issues that have cost that class a fair amount of hooks already, and they still have quite a few hooks left. That's the class that seems to hook the most these days for NTPA, and obviously Adam kind of came out with that footloose tractor of Dad's and was on a rail there at the start of the season, and he's kind of given some points back here as of late. And Lindsay had a good Chapel Hill and gained some points there, but we're just kind of working through all this in the depths of it all. But there's a whole bunch of really good tractors in that mix.
Sure.
Yeah, that's definitely, and like you said, any one of 15 that could do it. Look at Brian Guza at Chapel Hill.
And hopefully she's in position to get her first win. Like, I think she's, very, very close. And if that tractor stays together, and at some point lightning's going to strike for sure.
Well, with the help coming from, they've got quite the team with 3 tractors there and 2 from Hurt and 2 from Cody, and the combination of those 7 tractors together and the minds of all those pullers together, it's gonna work, and there's no question about it. So, I think there's a lot of awesome stories there. You think about what's happening on the PPL side and the outlaw side, and we're just in the midst of some pretty awesome points races, and too close to calls. There are a few, if you'd have told me a week ago to tell you the one I thought was a certainty probably on the 2-wheel drive side over there on the PPL side, I thought Jared had that thing pretty well sewn up, but the Goshen Evansville sweep did what the Goshen Evansville sweep sometimes can do to folks, and so he lost a good chunk of that 50-point lead he had accumulated through the first several hooks of the season. He's still got a lead, but it's not nearly the part where he could just have hook broke points for a couple of nights and still win it. That group, of course, I think they've still got a Mount Sterling hook and a couple of Hillsboro hooks, and then a couple in Nashville. So there's several still yet for their schedule to come, and it'll be pretty exciting to watch that. And obviously, the Tinker Toy the pro stock side, it's pretty well got that thing in its grasp with Joey and Kevin and doing the driving they did. But it was neat to see Rob Russell come and get a win on Friday night in Evansville. That was a pretty neat deal. So each of those classes pretty deep and pretty hot and heavy, non-points related, but historical and pretty awesome. You know, I think I've told you both this, and obviously we study it and we read it and we kind of keep track of it. But in the historical archives of pulling, there are not very many 3-generational winning families that we can discuss.
Right.
You know, I think on the PPL side, we will talk about the Boyd family, and we will talk about Steve and both of his sons, Greg and Mike, winning, and then both of their sons, Austin and Andrew, winning. On the PPL side, you can talk about Papaw Wayne and Donnie and Brant. And then on the NTPA side, I know it's a very unique scenario in the sense that you can find a multi 3-generational path with the Theobalds.
Yep.
You have Keith, Doug, Grant, then Neil, Renee, Grant, and that's what we experienced with Tanner. So Tanner Nelson picked up his win on Thursday night at Goshen, and in doing so, you know, you have now 8 family members that are all kind of intermingled and tied into that group. You have both the Moomal path and the Nelson path. And then even cooler, you know, you think about, for Tanner's sake, Mom is a winner, Aunt Bethany is a winner, Uncle Jared and Uncle Jordan are winners. And then also, you know, he now. So both grandpas, both Mom and Dad, both aunt and uncle, and then another uncle, and then himself. So that, I think, you know,
Would you say
I
8?
think that's fitting for the highlight and the discussion.
8, absolutely.
Yeah, coming to 8 total. Like, that's
8
wow.
family members, yeah, all intermingled in that line. So
And then how many national championships are in that?
well,
We
there's
have
a
to
good
at least
chunk,
start adding.
you know, and it's the same way with, you think about Mason and Grant, both those guys on the NTPA side to do what they've done.
Sure.
But you know, there's a whole group with Renee and Doug and their lineage and their connections to their you know, family, and then there. But I would challenge folks. There's probably more out there. There's definitely an outlaw path that I haven't thought about or that I don't know about that I want to know about. So if there's a 3-generational family that has won, I want to know about it. Share that with us. Comment below. Tag us somehow. Share that story so that we can highlight that and include it in our historical archive.
Yeah, because there has to be a few more out there. Yeah,
Well, and I
there's-
think
There have to be.
like,
yeah.
Do we look at the Typins? Like, I don't know if Phil ever won. I know Scott did, and I think Brody has. But
See,
Brody has won. He's not won on the Champions Tour or Grand National type level. He just
Right.
won. He just has been winning. I mean, he won in Evansville for their brush hook on Thursday night. He won in Brownstown for their hook 2 weeks ago. So he's definitely winning in that awesome new nightlife reversion of the nightlife tractor, and he warrants that shout out for sure. And Phil did drive both the pro stock and in the hot farm division and do some winning. So you know, it depends on how deep you want to go with those, and there's going to be stories of it. I am confident that somewhere in the Virginia archives of Umps and Davis
Yes,
and some of those
yes,
four-wheel drive
all them.
families, Brizendine, they're there.
Yeah.
But we haven't allocated that in our history book yet.
Smith probably.
Yeah, I would have to say it would be, you know, you'd have to stick with like Grand National, you know, in order to, I mean, you know, to try to, you know, because like earlier this year at Pleasant Hill, Illinois, had the pull where, you know, the 3 generations of Nelsons finished 1, 2, and 3 in the 2-wheel drive class,
Right.
and that was pretty cool, you know. But yeah, no, Tanner has turned he has turned into the shoe for the mini team. And that's
Well,
pretty
and
cool.
you and I talked about what's that kid weigh? $1.17 soaking wet, holding 2 cases of beer. I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean, between, you look at that, and between, Logan Stevens, he
yeah,
can't be, he might be $1.25. I mean, he's real tall, but there's not a lot there, so,
well,
but I
that
mean,
they
yeah,
love
it's
you get
awesome.
that movable weight.
Yeah, that's, and
Well, I know it gained them at least 80 pounds.
okay.
So, and that's if you look at Jared and you look at Jeremy, you don't think either of those guys have to lose weight by any means at all. But for Tanner to get in there and be able to be in the seat, that gained him about 80 movable pounds, and it makes a big difference. And watch this Saturday or the Friday night hooks at Evansville. Logan took one of the most rough rides I've seen in a mini in a good while. He got beat around in that tractor, and then just 2 tractors later, as fate would have it, he was in the lineup to pull the next tractor, his Kansas Twister tractor, and man, he got right back in and drove it differently and made the pass. But certainly hated watching that pass and watching him get beat around in that tractor. But
sure.
Tanner, comes out and throws him right in the rear of the seat. He just held on for the pass, and he and his dad went 1-2 with Jeremy doing the driving of Peter's tractor. So again, folks, we're just highlighting some of the things that are kind of these moments that stick out to us over the course of the season. You talked about Kelly Nichols, and I want to give her due, because I got to be on the microphone at Toma, and that was a kind of very uncomfortable situation because the sled broke, and I had 2 women standing there on the podium that both said they're not going to want to count this. They don't think this is fair. And she was one of them. I mean, she was right there in that winner's spot, finishing in the top 3 that night. And I told him, I said, when you drove your truck off the track, you were leading, or you were in the hunt. And so for her to go out and get that win and just get that further confirmation of what she's doing with One Fine Edge, I want to give her props and make sure she understands that she's supposed to be doing what she's doing, and she's where she's supposed to be. So good for you, Kelly.
Well deserved. Take your flowers. You deserve them. That was a whale of a pass, and nobody can take that from you. Congratulations.
Yeah, and second hook in the class, and she held on the whole way, which was interesting. Where Russ came, Russ was like halfway through the class, and afternoon hook, things start to get dusty, and he came right up there and gave a good challenge. So that was, the Nichols team, last couple of years, we've kind of seen them falling back a little bit here, and it looks like, they finally, it's just amazing that how that works, isn't it? How you have that, 19, he was champion, and then you fall into that, trying to do things here and everybody else getting better and better, and you kind of fall back a little bit, and then it's got to be, man, I don't know how you sleep at night, just trying to figure all that out. I mean, some teams are right up on top all the time, but yeah, no, it's good to see them back up where they should be, but what a tough class.
Adding a second truck isn't easy.
No, well,
and, that's another thing. Jonathan Payne just did that, and he's got that Chevy that he just acquired running really well. So,
but he hurt one of them at Waterloo this weekend. I just don't know.
Did he? Okay.
He's got it fixed. Everything's square. That was the Rampage truck that he had some issue with, and it'll be fine. They're going to be out this weekend. And
now Waterloo, that was a big. Wasn't that a big payout event?
$8,000 to win. And Evan Anderson took home the hardware and the red one.
Yeah, they had about 13. He was in the Ranger. He won with the Ranger, the newly acquired Ranger.
Dirty.
From Messrs.
Yeah, the old Southwind machine.
Yep, it was the Invisalign Ford last year.
Right.
Yep, that's
and he had just awesome. Had some at Jerseyville, Illinois. He had some catastrophic supercharger damage. Like there were gears not in the actual rotors, but in the top that came loose. That on that on his pass, it sounded awful. Like as he hit the big end and it just kind of tugged down, and I thought, oh my God, she's losing an engine. He didn't. There was just some catastrophic blower trouble.
Like the case blew up, or
like inside the case. Like there's not the rotors, but there were some flat gears at the base of the bonnet or something that did not look well, and some of them had actually sheared off, and he had to send it off to be redone. But it obviously paid dividends for him because he had an $8,000 payday at Waterloo, Illinois this weekend. So
Yeah. Now, was that the only class that they ran for
Nope.
big bucks,
I
or
think
was
that was
that?
the only one they ran for big money.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think
they
I
had
think
big mods there and pro stocks and several others. I think they had 11,000 hot farm or pro farm. I mean, I think they had 6 or 7 classes
Yeah.
there. It's been a really awesome, and it's been an awesome show for years. The
Okay.
negative aspect in that whole deal is, and I would plead with them, and I realize they can't change it, but they need to move their date.
right. So they're not on top of Hell Week.
Okay.
Yeah, they're at the they're in the midst of all of the point race, and they could have 40 two-wheel drive trucks running for $8,000 if they just didn't pull. Even if they move that thing to Sunday night, they'd
Okay.
probably have a whole bunch of guys that went with really tired trucks to try to win and get that 8,000. But after the Altamont rainout, some of those trucks like Anderson and Jonathan Payne and some of those guys all rolled right on in there to Waterloo to run.
They did, absolutely.
So,
and Dan, going back to the pro stocks, I just pulled up the points. So through Brandenburg,
Simon,
the Browns are only 12 out and Lemke's only 17 out.
Okay.
For third and fourth, but the Loud and Heavies are 1-2 now.
Okay. So going into Rockwell this weekend, and I think every class running this weekend in Rockwell. I think they're technically a super national, aren't they? I think that's what they.
And then through Brandenburg, you've got Jake Zering still leading the 4-wheel drives. Now John R. Davis in the number 2 spot, and he's tied with Taylor Corsa. So there's a tie. They're both 10 points out, and then the Holmans are 12 points out. So
yeah, that's pretty tight on through there.
Coming into Rockwell, things are starting to get tight over on the 4-wheel side. And let me pull up the minis here real quick.
The other thing I start thinking about, Dano, is who's going to make the farm show.
Yeah, well, you got to
top 3, 4 NTPA. You got a shot.
You get boy, this year it's been, man. Hopefully the two-wheelers be able to get in the rest of their hooks for this season, because they have just been they've just been thrown a bone there, and just I hate to see that, but at least they're really able to get one hook in. So we'll see this weekend how everybody does and kind of separates.
Hey, I got another thing for you. One of the highlights of Evansville was Dennis Miller.
Oh, yes.
Drove the other super farm tractor of the Miley camp that Mr. Weber's driven for years.
Yes, Brent Weber's tractor. And it is the same Dennis Miller, because
I saw him. He was there, and I was like, why is he standing there at the starting line? And then he got on that tractor and drove it.
Well, and we also have to talk about Joe Flannery.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we would be remiss if we didn't bring that up. Man hadn't crawled into a truck since 1996. He sees Jake Zering at Chapel Hill 2 weeks ago. They have a conversation about pulling and talking about the old days and, how driving styles. And I guess Zering just said, you want to drive the truck? I'll just bring it to Brandenburg. You come up there, you can pull it. And he did. And he was good. He made 2 solid passes both nights. And that was awesome to see. I had an opportunity to talk with him a little bit over the weekend, but that was really neat too. Just like, whoa, I remember that guy. Where's the PVS truck?
Yes.
I cannot believe that our leading story was not what happened for you on Saturday night at the Meade County Fair. So let's talk a little bit about that.
That's where I was kind of leading into with.
I thought we might save the best story for last.
Okay.
But I finally got the opportunity to start a 4-wheel drive truck. I've always wanted to do that. And the Broughton family was kind enough to allow me to do so and taught me a little bit about how that all works. I did not realize the sort of intense level of stuff you have to do before you can even start one of those machines. They have their own heaters now where they turn the heat on and make the, engine warm without having to actually start the engine. But then you have to, take a wrench and move the motor around to make sure that the oil goes, and gets everything lubricated up the top into the bigger part of the engine. And you have to do all of these things before you even begin to start it. So, but once he, he set me in the seat and talked me through things to look for and watch. And I was able to, hit the throttle a little bit. And I was very conservative. I didn't want to hurt anything or tear anything up, but I I did, in fact, womp it several times, maybe 4 or 5. I'm not
Okay.
going to lie. I did, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. I'll do it again. But, I think as announcers, especially for me, just having the opportunity to see what these guys see, knowing full well I'll probably never do what they do, but at least being able to sit there behind that big engine and hear it and feel it and be a part of that, I really enjoyed that. And I feel like it gives you a little bit of better opportunity to talk about things when you kind of know what that feels like. So
Andy went out and tied for second that night, right?
Yeah, good luck charm, huh? Yeah.
Throwing it out there. I mean, yeah, that's pretty cool.
It was really neat. And I don't know if you guys know this. I was talking to Mick Broughton about this. So the next time you see the Simply Red truck, the new one, the one that Rob is driving now, there is an homage to the Tennessean.
Yes.
So I don't know if you guys knew this, but the first sort of red that comes in on the fender is the same design on purpose. Like he wanted to take a nod from the Donnie Sanders machine.
Heck Robert, we talked about that at Farley about his new scheme there, and with Dad's tractor on the back, and
sure,
you mentioned about how the Tennessee. That's pretty cool. I love how guys do that.
Yeah, it all comes back to Donnie Sanders. I feel like somebody needs to find that guy and get him on camera.
I think yes. I think we need to work on that for the winter project. I think we need to get some of these 4-wheel drive guys on and
for sure
and talk. But yeah, that was definitely one we gotta. You can't be remiss without talking about the Tennessean, because he didn't pull a lot, but boy, when he pulled, he was tough.
So without question.
But well, guys, that'll bring us up to the end here. We've of course saved the best for last. Jeremy talking about the big fire in the 4-wheel drive here, so I think we can now safely move on. But no.
He's spinning on us there, unfortunately.
Well, we can fix this later. Yes, he's got to hit the button to turn this off.
Yeah, it'll be all right. So across the whole spectrum, a lot of pulling coming up this weekend, folks. Make sure you're watching. There's a ton of pulling coming up.
Absolutely.
We want you to be actively involved in supporting the sport at the regional, at the state, at the national level. Go find somewhere to go pulling this weekend. There are plenty of opportunities to do so. If you want to get bored and jump, or bored. If you want to jump on board and watch the live streams, the live stream should be happening with full pull. You can actually jump on there and catch some awesome action this weekend as well. So
actually, you're right, Miles. Tonight we got Cassopolis, Michigan starting tonight, regional NTPA. So yeah. Full pull.
It's everywhere, folks. It's everywhere. It's time to go watch a tractor pull, and
$40 a month. Do it.
These next couple of weeks, you should be able to watch almost every single night as we head into the big ends of the show here the weekend. So make sure you do so, and hopefully on next week when we talk, I can share with you that we had an awesome week at the Indiana State Fair and the weather weekend, and we'll get ready to move animals into the U weekend as I sit here on hour number 10 and more than a 3/4 of a tank or half a tank of fuel burned in this diesel pickup as I sit here in the parking lot.
Yes, good luck with that this weekend. And I want to tell you guys, once again, at Goshen and at Fort Recovery, people are watching. They are watching. We're not even counting anymore. They're watching.
Now we've got to be up to 25 or 30.
We like your show. Oh, I think we're way over that, but we like your show. So it's pretty neat to hear. So
absolutely. And
thanks for following us, folks.
Yes.
And I hope you'll keep messaging us and letting us know what you think and what you want. And like I say, once we get through the season, we'll have a lot of time on our hands to bring the content that you want to see when the pulling season is kind of dwindled down before we get cracking again. But I don't know what I'm going to do this weekend. You guys, of course, Dan, you'll be in Rockwell, and Miles, you'll be sheeping, and I don't have anywhere to go. So I guess I might just turn it on Full Pull Live and watch the Rockwell event, and maybe do some switching in the kitchen or hanging out around the house. Finally, I got a weekend off.
There's some great outlaw action as well coming up this weekend. They have been hot and heavy in their season, and boy, you talk about a lot of events. They have got quite a few of events going on, and all different times, and 2 or 3 a night, and yeah, it's pretty crazy how their schedule works. But yeah, it's summertime, and we're knee deep in pulling. So
Absolutely.
20 episodes in.
Yep, 20. Yeah, hard to believe we made 20, guys. We made
Thank
20.
you all for being with us from day number 1, and we hope you'll stay with us.
All right, we'll see everybody. See everybody next week, and go pulling.